Hello, chat.
Hey chat, how are you doing today? Hope you all had a wonderful holiday weekend.
Or if you're not American, just a good weekend overall.
What? Not Americans? How dare they? Oh wait, speaking of not Americans, hey Kelvin!
Immediately the first person who types.
Alright everyone, so we're doing Assassin's Creed stuff today.
Yup.
We have 36 commanders, if you count the partner pairings as a single one. So, it'll probably take a little while to get through all of this one, but a favorite of this is going to be kind of quick. Some of these are going to be pretty quick, because they're just kind of like repeating the same thing over and over.
What? You're telling me that the straight to modern set isn't that great? No.
Oh, Kellen, why would you work a 24-hour shift? Why would you do that to yourself? And why would you let... I can't remember what you work at exactly again, but that medical institution do to you. How dare you give your life to medicine?
Alright, Jason. We're just getting straight into it.
Oh yeah, let's jump into it. Alright.
Layla Hassan. 3 and a white for 3/4. Legendary creature, human assassin. First strike, whenever Layla enters the battlefield, or whenever one or more assassins you control deal combat damage to a player, return target historic card from your graveyard to your hand.
Okay, so if you listed out all of the colors in Magic and said which one has assassins in it, the answer is not white.
In the slightest.
So you're really relying on her and her alone for the ability. You can do shapeshifter stuff, but the shapeshifters are... It's not the worst, honestly. Like, this is another, like, mono-white KCI style deck and things like that. There's only 2 decks on EDH Rec to even look at, by the way, so, like, we're really going on how we feel about it.
Yeah, that's going to be most of the set.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to bother with EDH Rec outside of the 2 popular commanders. So.
Yeah. I do think that there's potentially something you can do here with this, like, Lurrus effect of just having a bauble. But, you know, you don't have black, so it's not great.
Yeah, but, man, I just don't want to play mono-white baubles. Mono-white baubles sounds really bad.
Yeah, no, that's really reasonable. Alright. 2? 3?
Bad.
I am A-okay with it. It's a decent effect. There's no support for this.
Jason, we can't escape the birds.
Oh boy, more birds!
More birds to bird up with.
Alright. So, this one is... Sinu? I don't know. I didn't play these games.
Sinu.
So, this is Sinu, Keen-Eyed Protector, 1 and a white for a 2/1 legendary creature bird scout with flying and vigilance. You can tap exile Sinu, you gain 2 life, and scry 2. Whenever a legendary creature you control attacks and isn't blocked, if Sinu is exiled, put it onto the battlefield attacking. Neat card in the 99 of decks, terrible commander.
Yeah, this thing is awful. Like, I don't know, 2? Again? Maybe 3?
I think it gets to be a 2 because... Okay, so the one big benefit that this thing has as a commander is it is a 2-cost flying creature.
Mm-hmm.
Which means big equipment energy. Which is just not really great. You're not really building around Sinu too much. It's hard to do much with this as a commander.
Yep.
So, we will roll through this and say it's not great.
Alright.
Alright, on to blue?
On to blue. Remember how we said this is gonna go by pretty quick?
Mm-hmm. Oh, hey, it's gonna take a while.
Hey, about that.
Hey. Alright. Leonardo da Vinci. 2 and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature human artificer with activated abilities for 3 blue until end of turn. Thopters you control have base power and toughness XX, where X is the number of cards in your hand, and you can pay 2 generic and a blue tap. draw a card, then discard a card. If the discarded card was an artifact, exile it from your graveyard. If you do, create a copy of it that is a 0/2 Thopter artifact creature with flying in addition to its other types. Hello, show and tell for big dumb artifacts.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Like, so I don't know how deep we have to go on it, because okay, so if you're playing this deck as actual factual Thopters, which is the first place people are going to go because we stuck a creature type on this thing and said build around that, and people will froth at the mouth for that.
Yep.
It's not great. I'll be honest, it's even as a show and tell for big dumb artifacts, it's not that great. But it's reasonably dumb. Like, it's reasonable as big dumb show and tell for artifacts.
Yeah,
like,
but when I look at the high synergy cards and the top played cards, it's entirely just Thopters.
Yeah, it's just what can we do with Thopters? And Thought Monitor, which is not a Thopter, but you know what?
It might as well be a Thopter.
You are in our heart. And, you just play good artifacts. You do some things. It's a pretty generic deck, honestly, and I think there's probably some, not full combo, but combo adjacent build of Leonardo that's better than building this as just Thopters and beats. Because the thing I like comparing this to is Museo, which Museo is much better. For those unfamiliar with Museo, he's a 3-mana 1/3 Artificer. You can pay 4 tap and look at the top X cards of your deck, where X is the highest converted cost among artifacts you control, and then you may reveal an artifact and just show and tell that into play. Right? You don't need to have the thing in hand. It can just be on top of your deck, and it just keeps getting larger and larger. The big benefit for Museo is, well, same casting cost, but the big thing is that you just keep scaling up. You're not stuck in any conditions of needing to care about your graveyard, and you can just rely on the big artifacts to do their thing. Leonardo making them into 0/2 Thopters puts them at risk very easily. So I think Museo is the better commander, although not
by much.
Not insane. That said, Leonardo's probably a solid 6 for me.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely on the above average for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's plenty of stuff to support this. You also have good flexibility with the commander, but yeah, he just kind of he's good. Not that interesting to me though.
No.
All right, that was our only mono blue, right?
Yep.
Okay, on to the mono black then.
All right. Hey, I can pronounce this name. It's Desmond Miles. 1 and a black for a 1/3 legendary creature human assassin with Menace. Desmond gets +1/+0 for each other assassin you control and each assassin card in your graveyard. Whenever Desmond Miles deals combat damage to a player, surveil X, where X is the amount of damage it dealt to that player. Alright. This thing can scale up decently fast, but it is overall pretty meh.
Yeah. 3 toughness, menace. This is pretty blockable. We don't have first strike. We don't have anything. You'll trade with Desmond. Desmond will trade pretty easily, but by the time you recast Desmond, people are able to block it again, and they're now starting to threaten win attempts and things like that. So, yeah. And he also just asked me to play a bunch of assassins, which, to be fair, we're in black, so we have the best color for assassins. I wish this is one of those situations where I really wish that he was one that was like assassins and rogues, as opposed to just assassins.
Yeah, that would make him significantly better if he had rogues as well.
Yeah. He also is a very good free running enabler, but or at least he's a solid one. He's pretty rough around the edges though, somewhere in the 3 to 4 territory for me.
I'm gonna go with a 3, and it's mainly just because he can scale up quickly, but he just gets blocked so easily once he's scaled up.
Yeah, and it's very easy to see that is the thing that I have to worry about, so people will take action. You don't get to bluff and say, no, he's not a problem. No, you don't have to worry about Desmond here.
No, you actively always have to worry about Desmond.
All right.
Once again, another 99 all-star Not great as a leader.
Yeah, honestly, he's really good in the assassin decks, though. Like, I will absolutely give Desmond that credit. He's very, very good in your assassin typal decks. Alright, on to the other mono black commander.
We have Roshan, Hidden Magister, 3 and a black for a legendary creature, Human Assassin. He's a 4/4. Other creatures you control are assassins in addition to their other types. The same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the battlefield. Face down creatures you control have menace. Whenever a permanent you control is turned face up, you draw a card and lose a life. I really wish instead of focusing on just assassins, they did something similar to outlaws. Yep.
Yeah, that would be nice. Okay, so Roshan here. So basically, for all that this spell is, he's basically just a 4/4 vanilla.
He is a 4/4 creature version of Conspiracy for just assassins.
Correct.
Just let that sink in.
I don't believe there is enough assassin typal stuff. Like, I'm talking like the old power, like the really good stuff, like where we can go and tutor out an assassin card or something that would really justify wanting to turn all of our creatures into assassins specifically. Obviously, anytime that you're able to turn all of your creatures into one creature type, that opens up some things with Roaming Throne, but I'm not really seeing what we're going to get out of that. For this commander, we're basically playing mono black morphs, and
that's basically impossible to have it function well.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, I was about to say impossible. No, improbable. Absolutely. Yeah. Even with disguise, like there's not enough of these for me to care about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about getting like 4-mana 2/2s that don't do much of anything otherwise.
Yep, they're just not good.
Yeah,
it's just like
a 1. I don't know if this is a 1.
I actually think it might be, because like there's just nothing there.
Yeah. Ugh.
There's just legitimately nothing here, Jason.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're right. I have put in the notes. Mono black morphs are bad. All right, we ready to move on to mono red, to the good stuff?
All right, we got 2 absolute banger commanders here.
Let's start with Alexios, Deimos of Cosmos. It is 3 and a red for a 4/4 legendary creature, Human Berserker with Trample. Alexios attacks each combat if able, can't be sacrificed, and can't attack its owner. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player gains control of Alexios, untaps it, and puts a 1/1 counter on it. It gains haste until end of turn.
Huh, guys, I think I've seen this card before.
If you had Uncommon Slicer on your bingo card, I don't know who you are, but you're a prophet. Please tell me the lottery numbers.
Alexios is quite good, guys.
Yeah, okay, so this is basically just going to be an entire conversation of how does this compare to Slicer. So, for those unfamiliar with how Slicer works, Slicer is a 5-mana 3/4 robot that has double strike and haste. And you can cast it for 3 mana instead on its backside, where on the backside it just has haste and first strike, and it transforms when it deals combat damage. And then you can just give it to each player. So effectively it costs 3 mana, but you only get 3 damage on the first swing. From there, you're dealing 6 damage with each swing.
Mm-hmm.
So, relevantly, if all of the attacks went at the same player, which is literally impossible because that player can't attack themselves, that would be 21 commander damage. Alexios works a little bit differently because you don't get any damage on the first swing, or the first turn, because Alexios doesn't have haste innately. However, the first attack is going to do 5 damage, and the next one's going to deal 6, and the next one's going to deal 7. Alright?
Yep.
Add that up. That is 17 damage. So we're 4 less than what Slicer did on the first turn, and then every following turn is much more with Trample built in and the option to now give Double Strike, different ways of giving haste to make it so Alexios does deal more damage on the first swing, because, hey, remember again how I said Alexios doesn't have haste? Well, if you give it haste, now that you have an attack for 4, which means now you've dealt 21 commander damage in a single turn cycle. Again, can't all be to the same player, but
It won't all be to the same
that's
player,
pretty good.
because players are going to spread it out.
And also because, again, even if 3 players attack one person, that person can't attack themselves. So,
Yep.
um,
So now we get to the caveat of Trample is just innately better than Double Strike, especially in mono red.
pretty much, I think that's true. The one thing I give to Slicer is that stat pumping is more relevant in Slicer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, huge credit to Slicer for being an artifact. Like, when you get to really high levels of playing with Slicer, the fact that Slicer is an artifact matters a lot for some of the ways that you can cast that thing. At the CEDH level, like, people will put Mishra's Workshop in their deck just to help cast Slicer on turn 1. So, very relevant that you can do that, and if you happen to get to 5 mana, well, then you can just be swinging for 6 every turn, as opposed to starting with swinging for 3. But the other thing is, Alexios is a human, which does matter for some of the support you may want.
It does matter for that. Also, weirdly enough, how you were talking about how Slicer is an artifact, Alexios not being an artifact is in some cases also better.
Yes.
So
Correct. Yeah, the big thing for me with Slicer is I think Slicer gets cast turn 1 more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And Alexios is often a turn 3 cast, which is really relevant. But at the same time, after the first turn cycle, Alexios is much more lethal than Slicer.
Yes.
Without needing any support.
Yes.
So, I genuinely don't know which of these two is better.
I think Slicer is slightly better because turn 1 versus turn 3, which matters quite a bit, but it's maybe like 1 point less.
Yeah. And for everyone to know, we've done, the Zur Scale is something we've done with every commander, so whenever we do this, I have the actual Zur Scale up on the side. It's just a big spreadsheet, doesn't look too sexy, that's why we give you the tier list, because it looks a lot better. Excuse me. But we have Slicer here as a 7 on the Zur Scale, and the notes on it is considering an 8. And I think Slicer deserves to be an 8, now that I've played against it enough times. I think even in casual, without going super fast, the play pattern of turn 2, turn 3 Slicer into just beating up all of your opponents is good enough to win games.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I didn't realize how good, random equipment are with Double Strike in particular. Or random equipment and, auras, like Sticky Fingers.
It's like a straight 6 versus a V6 from the jump. Slicer is faster, but the other guy is better in the long run. True.
Mm-hmm.
Not having haste is so relevant. I mean, kind of, because remember, you pass the turn and it gets haste.
Yeah.
It has to attack. So
True. Yeah, if you give Alexios haste, again, because of math I talked about, Slicer deals 21 points of commander damage on the first turn cycle. Alexios deals 17 points of commander damage on the first turn cycle. Or, sorry, 18. Because 5, 6, 7. Yeah, sorry.
Yep.
18. So it actually deals 22 points of commander damage in the first turn cycle if you give it haste. So, yeah. I guess also another relevant thing with this, Double Strike is very helpful in a defensive way because you can't just trade off as easily.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think Slicer gets the edge.
Yes.
That said, I think they're both still in the same level. Like, I think I'm just happy to give Alexios an 8 and call it a day on that.
Sounds good to me. Makes my brain not have to think as hard.
I like it. I think it's a reasonable rating. Alright. Next one. I'm here to put your names. Here's Sutur. Fiery Jotun. 3 red for a 5/5 legendary creature, giant god warrior with trample. And whenever you cast a historic spell, Sutur deals 3 damage to any target. Every artifact is a lightning bolt. Everything.
Yep.
Every legendary creature is a lightning bolt. You have to invest 5 mana to get to that point. However, everything. I don't think this is bad at all, honestly.
No, I think this is quite solid.
Mm-hmm. I'll be up front. I think it probably falls right at about average deck level. Maybe a little under average if you're building it as like, I'm just gonna play some artifacts and I will do some lightning bolts.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't go for combo routes on this, which is fair, not everyone's gonna want to go and build this as a combo deck. But this is another great example of how you can just utilize any form of scrap trawler deck to, put a win con in the command zone. Then once you assembled scrap trawler combos, you've got it. And this is
Nicholas Linton in chat says 5 mana in red though. I mean, yeah, it's kind of rough, but also not really because you can just ritual it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and as Gutty mentioned, treasures. So treasures don't count for this commander. Surtur, I think it's Surtur. I don't know. I don't pronounce these names too well. Apologies. So no, the treasures won't be a form of, like, they're not going to be lightning bolts, but at the same time, like, the treasures help. You're doing generic artifact synergies anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you can do this as a legendary creatures build as well if you want to do that. That's acceptable. I can't recommend doing sagas, but if you want to be the brave soul to do that, then by all means, I guess.
If you want to be the brave soul that plays red deck wins in Commander, you got it.
Yeah. So, do we want to do split for this, or just leave it as, or just say like 5?
It's 5.
Yeah, 5's fine by me.
5 mana is still pretty rough. Like that is the one caveat to Surtur.
Yeah, it is. You want to be doing loops. There could be a good reason to do a split. However, I'm not even sure that if you are doing the like heavily optimized, going for the like once you start comparing to other more optimized builds, I don't think it really stands out that much. So 5 works for me.
All right, we have second real person alert.
Do Socrates first? All right. So we have Socrates, Athenian teacher. 1 white and a blue for a 0/4 legendary creature human advisor with defender. Socrates has hexproof as long as it's untapped, and you can tap until end of turn. Target creature gains if this creature would deal combat damage to a player. Prevent that damage. That creature, this creature's controller, and that player each draw half that many cards rounded down. Encourage people to punch you in the face so you draw cards. It's pure politics. There's something to be said if you can keep tapping and untapping this thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, you can do like unblockable stuff for yourself as well, but like you need 2 power unblockable because it's rounded down, not up. Or like 2 power flyers and things like that, and try to just draw a bunch of cards. It definitely feels like you are hamstringing yourself to try to do something interesting, not great. So I do feel this technically counts as a 1 for me.
It's by technicality a 1. Yeah, no, it's just one.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's not great. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah, but it just doesn't do enough on its own.
Mhm. Now, I think is our list missing the other?
Oh
No,
no,
you got him there.
no,
Okay,
no, no! I just jumped again.
no worries. All right, so let's get Hatham on here.
Whoop.
So this is Hatham Kenway, 2 white and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, human knight, with protection from assassins. Other knights you control get +2/+2 and have protection from assassins. When Hatham enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls until Hatham leaves the battlefield. Meh.
Meh.
I mean, I appreciate
I appreciate
the
the
knight stuff.
flavor. Yeah, but
It's not a terrible card. It's just not great either. And as a commander, though, it's very generic.
Mm-hmm.
Got a little bit of disruption on it. Just kind of some beats for a card type that doesn't have a great job at flooding the board. It gets a few things into play pretty easily, but
Also, I would like to be Esper with my knights, not Azorius. So
yeah, it would be nice to get that extra color. I think it's probably a 3.
I think it's a 3.
It's like it does something that's not terrible. We do have support for it. It's just not a ton of support is the problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
not a lot of flexibility either. Okay, so the first of many Dimir commanders.
We have Achilles Davenport. 2 in Dimir for a 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin. Free running, blue and a black. With menace. And then other assassins you control get +1/+1. And for everybody who doesn't know what free running is, because it is a relevant keyword here, you may cast a spell for its free running cost if you dealt damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander.
It only just now dawned on me that this is a fixed cost like Commander Ninjutsu.
Yes.
So
Yep.
this gets around the tax then.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, sure. I mean, that doesn't really change my rating of this.
No.
Because this is, like, okay, we got blue, so now we have the blue assassins, which is decent, but we're still not doing anything that great. This is still probably around a 2 territory for me. Because, like, assassins are worse at combat than rogues are, so, like, really important to point that out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm gonna give it like a 3 personally, just because it does avoid commander tax with your changeling outcast, but that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, even when I just pay this 2 mana as a commander, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm getting enough out of it, but we can put it as a 3.
More of a benefit of the doubt, and also because this card is impossibly hard to find right now.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually played it.
Yeah. To be fair. I mean, oftentimes we don't get to see a lot of these commanders before we start rating them, but at the same time, surprisingly, I've gotten to play against 4 of these commanders already, and I've seen, like, 4 other ones from, like, gameplay videos and such, so I at least feel a little more confident with some of these choices than I would normally. Alright. Let's get on to our next one. This is... Yes. Pirate Dude.
A Dalway, Breaker of Chains. 1 in Dimir for a 4/1 legendary creature, human assassin pirate. Whenever a Dalway enters the battlefield, reveal the top 6 cards of your library, put an assassin, pirate, or vehicle from among them into your hand, and the rest on the bottom in a random order. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, you may return a Dalway from your graveyard to your hand.
Not good enough.
Nope.
I like this card as supporting in decks. I actually think for like Grixis Pirate decks, for example, this is not a bad card. Well, at least for specific types of Grixis Pirate decks. But for Assassin decks, for even as a commander, it's just not doing much.
Yep.
3-mana 4/1's not a good stat line either. Blocked by literally everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
At least it crews vehicles well. That's probably the big strength of this thing is a 4/1. It crews vehicles extremely well.
But Jason, what's our big caveat? Vehicles suck.
Oh yeah, vehicles are terrible. I hate vehicles. But that's me though. Is it a 2 or a 1?
I think it's 2.
It gets to a 2. All right then. That's fine.
It does draw you a card on entering the battlefield, which isn't irrelevant.
Yeah.
So.
All right. We ready to cook with gas though?
Oh, this card is fire.
All right. So, Basim Im Ishak is this it's blue and a black for a 2/2 legendary creature, human assassin. Whenever you cast a historic spell, draw a card. Basim can't be blocked this turn. This ability triggers only once each turn. Whenever Basim deals combat damage to a player, put a 1/1 counter on it. Okay. So, very straightforward. This is cast an artifact, draw a spell. Or draw a card, right?
Yep.
Yes, we can only do this once per turn, but we can play at instant speed because, hey, we're in Dimir! So, it's not too hard for us to take advantage of what Basim offers. I do think you do have to build around this. It's not straight, like this is not balls to the wall, gonna kill people real quick, but a scaling threat that draws cards at a low mana cost is something I'm always interested in.
Displacer Kitten cooks with this card, absolutely.
Yes. That is the other thing. You can use Basim in Displacer Kitten lines. However, the Displacer Kitten lines that involve Basim are very difficult to do because you basically need 2 Displacer Kittens or to double the triggers. Because you need to keep drawing through your deck and reflickering him. So if you have 0 drops, sure, that works great. If you don't have 0 drops, then you're not really doing anything. And you need to find a way to return an artifact to your hand to keep doing the loops. So those loops are tough. Not impossible, just tough.
Mm-hmm. Also, there's something to be said about a 2-mana 2/2 that gets bigger and is unblockable every turn.
Mm-hmm.
For basically free. No equipping required.
That said, also, equipment.
Yep.
Not bad with this commander.
Pretty good with this commander.
You honestly can build this as Dimir Voltron, and I wouldn't fault you for that decision. That said, so he does have an upper, he has an upper limit here. He's not too bad even after a board wipe because, 4 mana, and then you can just keep casting some more spells here and there. He probably makes it up to a 6, maybe 7?
I think he's a 7. I might just be really high on this card because of constructed formats, but...
Oh, he's absolute gas in constructed.
Man, this card is good.
Yeah, I think it might be a 6, but I'll at least note that. But I do think that he's quite good. He's just all around pretty damn solid.
Yep.
All right. On to our blue-black Ezio.
Yep.
So, this one is Ezio, Blade of Vengeance. You will hear the name Ezio multiple times today. 3 blue-black for a 5/5 legendary creature, human assassin with Death Touch, and whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card.
Neat.
Basic bitch.
Basic bitch.
Basic bitch, probably a 4.
Yep.
What more do I gotta say? It would be a lot better if there was an easy way to snowball with assassins or something, but you're just kind of tempoing with this card. Not terrible, not the worst. Assassin's still not great.
Oh, is free running a cast, not a ability? Because if it's a cast trigger, then yeah, you still have to pay commander tax.
Oh, it is? Yeah. Okay, then. Never mind.
Never mind.
Still good.
Thank you, Logan Broughton, for bringing that up.
Okay.
Anyways, 4.
Yeah. 4. And leave it at that.
Do I want the Zetsuo to be better? Yes.
I mean, honestly, considering it's made as an intro product, that's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Our next one. Lydia Fryer. 2 and a hybrid blue-black for a 3/2 legendary creature and human assassin with this creature can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater, and at the beginning of your end step, surveil X, where X is the number of tapped assassins you control.
Meh as all could meh.
This is somewhere between a 1 and a 3, and I'm leaning towards a 1, honestly. Or, well, it just doesn't do anything. No worries, Logan. She just really isn't doing anything, is the problem. Like, she works with the assassins that can just tap themselves to do things, which is useful, but it's not that useful.
Like, I don't think she's a 1 because that's weird. Like, I feel like this card is better than a 1. Like, you look at what's in the 1 category, I think she's strictly better than all of them.
Surveilling a lot. Well, see, that's the thing. It's only at your end step, and it's surveilling X, where X is the number of tapped assassins you control, right? So if you're off to an aggro start, then sure, that's pretty decent. She gets blocked like crazy. I know she says that she can't be blocked by creatures with power 3 or greater. That is basically flavor text. She's going to get blocked by pretty much anything.
Yep.
And as for the surveil side of things, like, she's not going to be contributing to her own ability too often. So, what is contributing?
Play vehicles so you can just tap them.
I mean, you're correct. That is a way that you can do that.
That is a way, yeah. You surveil. Surveilling's pretty strong.
Surveilling X, like, going deep is good, but again, like, a lot of mana just to scry, basically just scry. It's not great. It's not very good. It still feels like a 2 to me.
Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at. I'm at a 2. I'm definitely, like I said, just it's strictly better than 1 territory.
That's fine.
So,
like, I'll give you that, but oh boy, this deck's just, Commander's really rough.
oh, don't worry, Jason. We haven't even begun to scratch the surface of really rough.
You prefer to the 99? It's honestly, that's a reach. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty fair to say.
Yep. Classic 2. Yup.
All right.
Arno Dorian. 2, a black and a red for a legendary creature human assassin. He's a 3/3. He has Death Touch. Other assassins get +2/+0. And then he has this nice flavor text of disguise for Rakdos.
Okay.
So remember what Jason was saying about cards being very rough? This might actually be worse.
Okay, so in all fairness, +2/+0 is not the worst thing to give creatures.
Mm-hmm.
However, and we are in red-black as well, so aggro assassins make sense.
Yep.
Red assassins are not great, but at least, red helps with the whole aggro plan. But I just want to draw a stark comparison to another commander, though. Let me just talk about Jarina Kudro for a second. Alright? Jarina Kudro is a 4-mana in Mardu commander. She's a 3/3. When she ETBs, she makes a 1/1 human soldier for each time you cast your commander this turn, and other humans you control get +2/+0. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So we lose out on the Death Touch combat ability. Same stat line, human as well. We get white. And this commander is ass. Like,
Yes.
Jarina is bad. I think we might have done her a little dirty because we have her as a 2 currently. I think she's a 3 now.
Yeah, but that's still not good.
Yeah, like, that's not good. And we're talking about a commander that I would consider almost strictly worse.
Yep.
Just, it is. I understand the definition of strictly worse, people, but, like, this is so bad. It infuriates me how bad this is. Like, this doesn't need to be a legendary creature, but I'm sure they did it because this is probably a relevant character to the story. I don't know.
The fact that Arno got this card really ticks me off, because it's like, God bless.
Is this the one from, like, which Assassin's Creed is this?
This is the
French
Revolution.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yep.
Is he the player character?
Yes.
What is he? He's the player character?
Yes.
Man, they did that game dirty.
Yep.
Holy, okay. Yeah, no, 2.
That's why I said, I'm very ticked off that this is the card he got.
Damn. That's so bad.
Yeah,
I feel really bad for fans of that one. Holy shit.
You're telling me.
Oh my god. Alright, so we don't have any in Gruul, we don't have any in Selesnya. Don't got any... Oh, we do have one in Orzhov.
We have... Oh, you ready for it, Jason?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we got Shay Cormac, white and a black, for a legendary creature, human knight rogue, 1/1. Pay 1 permanent to your opponent's control. Lose hexproof, indestructible, protection, shroud, and ward until end of turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls becomes a target of a spell or ability you control, put a bounty county on that creature. Whenever a creature with a bounty county on it dies, put 2 1/1 counters on Shay Cormac.
I must ask, does it have the other version of him on here?
No, they only have the corrected versions.
That's
art.
So, yeah, if you haven't seen, there's a Reddit post today showing that every single version of, like, this frame version of Shay Cormac is misprinted to say Bounty County as opposed to Bounty Counter.
I love
it. You missed the Wild West, friend. The etched foil versions, thank you. Yeah, I'm surprised that one got passed. Like,
I am too.
Anyway. Shay's fine.
I mean, this is a strong ability on anything that's 2 mana. This is a very strong ability. That being said, the payoff is just not good.
Okay. Perhaps a weird take for me to say. Counterpoint, it's not that good. Like, I've played with things like Shadow Spear for a long time at this point. That ability doesn't really come up too often. When it does come up, it is sometimes relevant, but it's not very relevant, right? And while it can be relevant for some things, like if your opponent goes for a big indestructible play when there's a board wipe, those are less common than the actual things that people do, which is, phase themselves out with the Fairy's Protection, which this doesn't stop.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the new, the Final Showdown, White's version of Cyclonic Rift, right?
Yep.
That wouldn't be... Shay can't interact with that spell, for example.
Yep.
Because he loses all of his abilities before he'd be able to remove the indestructible. And also the destruction's part of it anyway, so...
So my counterpoint is specifically around this last word right here. Ward 1 is so much worse than Ward 2, it's not even funny.
That's true. Like, it does help with the ward, and you can pay for your opponent's ward costs, basically.
Yep.
So there's a good politics element to Shay. That said, like...
It's just not... Like I said, the payoff's just not there.
Yeah. We're putting bounty counters, or bounty counties onto things. And if we check the EDH record, there's not many things that do bounty counters, right?
No, it's specifically you want to be targeting. That's it.
Yeah. Like, we have Determination Facilitator, we've got Bounty Hunter. I'm trying to think of the other things that do bounty counters, because I know that there's three other legendary creatures that do bounty counters, right?
They're all Mardu? Am I thinking about that correctly?
One is, that's Mathis.
Yeah.
Then one of them is Golgari. That's Chevril, I think is his name. And then there's Mari does hit counters, not bounty counters. Okay, so I think it's only two then.
It's only two.
Yeah, we really don't have enough things to help distribute this, because, like, I understand whenever it becomes a target of a spell ability, like, obviously every single removal spell you play now gives 2 counters to your commander. That's nice, but, like, there's no card draw here.
Nope.
There's kind of medium pressure overall, and that first ability is situational, relevant, but situational. I don't think Shay offers much.
No. Shay does not. Basically does nothing.
Yeah, and if he's doing so little... So again, we're somewhere in the 1 to 3 territory, I think better than a 1. Probably not a 2, maybe a 3. But, I mean, he's like a 2.5 for me right now.
Which by law of the scale means 2.
Alright. The scale.
The scale speaketh if we ever have a half rating.
Mm-hmm. The good news for him is at least he's, like, actually decently flexible, so that's kind of nice, but not that flexible. Alright. Is it time?
Alright, spicy commander alert. Mary Reed and Anne Bonny. 1 and Izzet for a 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin pirate with haste. Tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you discard an island, pirate, or vehicle, create a tap treasure token. As Sammy has said in the chat, this card is gas.
This card does some interesting stuff. Mm-hmm. So, I don't remember the exact stuff around them, but obviously they work with any of the increased looting effects, they work with discard effects. You can do things like Library of Lang to help just put the card back as a replacement effect, so you can just keep redrawing the same card over and over if you need to.
Or Jason, how about I just play all the self-wheels and just make a billion treasure, and the one thing that says when an artifact enters, I deal 1 damage?
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that. Just a whole bunch of wheels, pingers, for whenever you make treasures. The treasures themselves are relevant pieces that you can do something with. They do come into play tapped, but who cares? That's going to stop you from doing, like, big combos that just go faster and faster. Is it NG? No, I would not say that.
No.
So, the big thing with Mary Reed and Anne Bonny, that name, Mary here. Mary, they don't untap themselves too easily. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm trying to remember if there's an easy way to do that. I don't believe there's anything for whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you can untap. There's ways where if you cast an artifact spell, you get to untap something. Mm-hmm. So I don't think this combo, or this commander does not, like, hard combo very easily. It doesn't go infinite very easily. But it offers a lot of good value when you build around it.
That's not just, like, good value. It's pretty... After playing against this, it's pretty insane value, feels like.
All loot for how many islands, pirates, and vehicles you in hand. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you can do a whole lot of it. Oh, you're saying when you have a thing that when an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you can discard something and then draw something. I see. So with Quicksmith Genius, Koi Swimmer Koi, Sky Swimmer Koi, and Transplant Theorist, which is a 3-drop, 4-drop, and 4-drop, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Sure. So now you just need to get your Reckless Fire Weaver into place, and I mean, you keep needing to discard something, but you would need something like Library of Lane. What's the blue partner dog from it? Chakram Retriever. Why I know that one off the top of my head, I'll never know. But Chakram Retriever. Let me Google that thing real quick. So Chakram Retriever is a 5-mana 2/4 with partner with Chakram Slinger. Whenever you cast a spell during your turn, untap target creature. So this one's not a triggered ability based one either. You need to be casting, and you wouldn't bother playing what it partners with because it just does 2 damage to a player or planeswalker, and it taps to do it. So not very good. Yeah, okay, I can see more of the important parts because of the redundancy to it. If you have to, I think library is kind of necessary here.
It's necessary for when you go for the kill, but setting up is really, really easy.
Yeah, can you pull up the Library of Lung? Because this is going to be one that confuses a lot of people. Library. Not the library. Okay. So, 1-mana artifact, you have no maximum hand size if an effect causes you to discard a card, or to discard a card, discard it, but you may put it on top of your library instead of into your graveyard. So, this is a replacement effect. So, you get to, instead of putting it in your graveyard, you put it just on top of your deck, and you get to just draw it immediately again off of a loot effect, right? Or off of a rummage, more specifically. And it's worth noting that it's an effect that does this, not a cost.
Yep.
Which is a weird part of this as well. So, this does work. It's important with Urza's Saga and other artifact tutors that exist. This is kind of your key card for being able to do a whole lot of your combo-related things. Because I don't think you're going to be able to build your whole deck as literally just Pirates Islands and vehicles. So, relevant. It's in 13% of the decks that are present, which I think this number will go up over time as people realize how important it is to the strategy. But also, this is a commander with 92 decks, so we don't have a ton of information at the moment.
Like I said, I do think this card is just gas. It's definitely above average. The fact that you can wheel and you've now set yourself up with a new hand of 7 mana to go for next turn plus whatever you have untapped. Like, people kind of have to answer that because you now have a billion mana effectively. So,
yeah. I mean, sure. How far do you want to rate it then?
I just want to give it a 6.
6? I can go with the 6. I think that's fine. This is another one where I'm like, it may be a 5, but I think it has enough support to do what it needs to do. Although the deck is very narrow in how it's built. Not a lot of range on the options here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's go to the next one then. Xiaojun. 1 a blue and a red for a 3/3 legendary creature human assassin. As long as it's your turn, she has flying and first strike, and you may tap 2 untapped artifacts you control to deal 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, let's start with this is not a gear for Aether Grid that hits anything, not just opponents, but at the same time, this does some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Similarly to how our previous commander really has a bunch of cards that it really wants to work with, this is a really good commander to slap curiosity effects onto.
Yes.
So you play artifacts, you play curiosities. Your commander is just doing some kind of medium stuff in the meantime. The commander's not great, the rest of the deck is pretty good, though. So, not sure where I put Xiaojun.
Probably like 4 or 5.
Maybe 5.
4 or 5, somewhere in there is where I'm at. I can be
Yeah.
convinced on either way.
I think she does. I think people underestimate just how much she will burn you out over the course of a game. Like, you can just do generic artifact things, and she will just top off the damage. That said, I don't think she's carrying her deck. I think the deck carries her.
The cards she's asking you to play definitely carry her.
Right. And that gets you up to at least being an average deck, but she is a little subpar compared to the cards in the deck.
No, we know this is Alex. Alex from the channel's favorite commander card from the set. Definitely.
It's a spirit animal at this point. All of us about to be over here talking about, man, I'm a badger. No, I'm a raccoon. Alex is over here, I'm a Xiaojun.
Alex is a Xiaojun, everybody.
The world chose him for it. Alright. On to our first Golgari commander. Or did I miss an Izzet? I don't think I missed an Izzet.
No, you didn't miss an Izzet.
Alright. Aveline de Grand Prix? The Grand Prix? I don't know. 2 green for a 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin, with Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, put that many 1/1 counters on that creature, and she has they have Disguise for black and a green, so that gives us our Golgari color identity here.
Yep.
And Disguise means you can pay 3 mana to turn it into a 2/2 with Ward 2, and you can pay the Disguise cost to turn it face up at any time, like Morph. It's Death Touch. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about that than it's just Death Touch.
Kind of wish it was mono green. No, I absolutely love it being Golgari, because at least then I have more things to say about this, and that it has black. That's it.
And yeah, it's not bad. It's just kind of dull to me.
Yep.
It's also only a commander that's like doing snowballing effects, and I'm honestly curious. Do we have another commander that has the effect of when a creature you control deals combat damage, it gets that many counters? I feel like we have something similar.
We have something similar. I don't think we have that exact effect, though.
Yeah. I was going to say, like, just that as a generic effect on a green commander, I would say is probably about 5 mana? Maybe close to 6 mana. The fact you have to put it on Death Touch is not the worst, but, like, Death Touch creatures, their balancing factors, they're typically low power. So, but she's doubling the power every turn, so to speak, of your assassin or your Death Touching creatures. She's not bad. She's somewhere between 4 and she's probably a 5, honestly.
Probably a 5.
Like, it's not the worst. It's not super exciting, though.
Can't even go in Finn for Death Touch Typal? I mean, but like... Okay, I'm gonna be real with you. This is almost too expensive for Finn. With its mana cost.
Relevant. But also, Finn just goes in this deck.
Yes.
And, like, it's a perfectly reasonable alternate win con. So... Yeah, I don't really see an issue.
I don't see an issue. This card's... It's a solid.
It's fine. It's pretty decent. It kills people pretty fast, so... Credit where credit's due, right? The lack of card draw on it definitely hurts it, though. Alright. Next one.
Alright, are you ready for Clunk? Clunkety clunk clunk?
Oh, yeah, very... It's an interesting commander.
It is. This is probably, in my opinion, the most interesting commander that just can't do much of anything.
Yeah. Alright, so this is Cleopatra Exiled Pharaoh. 2, a green and a black for a 2/4 legendary creature, human noble. At the beginning of your instep, put a 1/1 counter on up to each of 2 other target legendary creatures. And whenever a legendary creature you control, or whenever a legendary creature with counters on it dies, draw a card for each counter on it, you lose 2 life. It's just too... Sorry. It's legendary creatures, so it doesn't have to be you control. So,
Yes.
relevant. Politics. Okay, this is a commander with a ton of tools and a ton of ways to play. Very dynamic. It's interesting. I don't know how much I like it, but it's interesting.
So, the first card you have to get in this deck is Hapatra? Or some way of putting -1/-1 counters on your opponent's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, their commanders.
Interesting. 4. Okay, I actually think this is higher than a 4, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Golgari and Clunk. Name a more iconic duo. So, okay, couple of important things. A legendary creature with counters on it has to die, which there's not a whole lot of legendary creatures you want to kill off, but you draw a card for each counter on it, not each type of counter on it. So if you had a 20 power creature that was, say you had your Rayhan that got massive, right? That creature is normally a 0/0 with 3 counters on it, but it gets larger. If you get that thing up to a 15/15 and it dies, you will draw 15 cards, but you still only lose 2 life.
Which is incredibly relevant.
That is so extremely relevant. And then the other thing that's really interesting here is it doesn't care what type of counters were put on it. So as you mentioned, the -1/-1 counters thing. So if you can kill off your own creature with -1/-1 counters, that still draws you a bunch of cards, and that's a way for you to control for the situation.
Mm-hmm. Also, it does politics, because it doesn't say on creatures you control. So you can put a 1/1 counter to just politic your way through the game. That's pretty relevant still.
Yep.
Play against the Alexios player and profit. Exactly.
Until you get punched. Yeah, I think this commander is very interesting in how you build her. I just have no idea what the best way to build this commander is.
I don't either, and I doubt EDH Rec has the sauce figured out. I mean, we're just playing Golgari 1/1 counters? I'm kind of here for it, not gonna lie.
Golgari 1/1 counters with primarily legendary creatures. It's like doable. You can also just do this as like Golgari Yawgmoth, basically.
I'm kind of here for that.
I don't hate it. Most persist combos will work with this, so that's pretty useful.
Yeah, I'm kind of here for it, not gonna lie.
The only thing about the persist combos is none of them are... Well, actually, that's not true. We did get a legendary creature that has persist or undying on it.
Mm-hmm.
We have to remove the counter in that case for that one to work.
So we specifically want persist. Get some +1/-1 counters, because that's way easier to remove than the +1/+1.
Well, no, getting the +1/+1 is like you want your thing dying. Ideally, like the best thing to happen is you have your creature get both undying and persist, so you don't have to worry about removing either of the counters, and you just let it go from having 1 counter to no counter, or a +1/+1 counter to having a -1/-1 counter and drawing cards in the process. But you're losing 2 life every time you do that, which is steep.
Mm-hmm.
But this works with Shieldred. This works well with some decent stuff. Like, honestly, this feels very... It's definitely extremely clunky. But it's probably a 5?
It's probably a 5.
I think it... looking at it, it is very awkward. Like, I'm seeing that argument for a 4.
I
right?
can see it, but also, like... I think it just barely does enough to get a 5.
Yeah, it definitely has the ability to do some big splashy play. I think the thing that I don't like about Cleopatra is she is not your win con.
No.
Golgari is pretty good at producing engines that are also your win cons, so a bit awkward, but not the worst.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely.
All right.
5.
Yeah, I think the 5 gets there. Oh, hey, Boros.
Boros.
For like is this like the 4th set in a row that we've basically just gotten a million Boros commanders? Someone really has a hard on for Boros in.
Look, Jason, I am here for more Boros in Commander. Pushed Boros, sign me up for it.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, speaking of good Boros commanders,
Mhm.
we have a Brazmir. Boros for a 2/2 legendary creature human assassin. Whenever a Brazmir or another non-token historic permanent enters the battlefield under your control, a Brazmir deals 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Specifically, they had to make it non-token so that way you couldn't abuse dockside loops.
Correct. There have been no good Boros commanders since Captain Rex Nebula. Kelvin, you can show yourself out. There have been a lot of good ones.
But as Nicholas Linton has pointed out, eggs have entered the chat.
Yeah, so you can build this as aggro beats with just legendary creatures, which is honestly perfectly reasonable, and that's technically what the majority of people are doing on EDH Rec. I will never not shut up about just playing Scrap Trawler decks.
Yep.
Like, this is a really easy Scrap Trawler deck. The other thing, though, that really sucks about this commander is that this is only dealing damage to your opponents. And that's honestly really relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, by comparison to that Fiery Jotun guy that we talked about earlier, that 5-mana mono red guy who, whenever you cast a historic spell, you bolt something, right? That's board control. Flage taught us that board control is good. Being ETB and not a cast is really nice. That is very true. When you do get through doing the sack loops, though, you often don't really care about it being ETBs as much as you're casting anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But this one does work with like the second sunrise style of egg stuff, so that's worth noting. I'm actually curious if second sunrise is getting played at all. I don't expect it to be.
I wouldn't think that it is, but it might be.
Yeah, I'm just checking really quick to see if I see it at all. Yeah, I mean, there is a solid 5 people or 6 people who have discovered that you can, in fact, play Second Sunrise with this and play actual factual eggs.
I'm here for the Snore and the Wary in 60% of decks, though.
I honestly think that's a good choice. Like,
I'm here for it.
That's 4 life a turn cycle. Like, also, that's actually not nothing.
Also, Delny is really, really good here.
Mm-hmm. Torbjorn's pretty cool. Yeah, like all the cards, that's all on the fortune, but yeah, like all these cards in the high synergy.
It's just the flicker, right? Yeah, just the flicker. That's all we care about fortune for.
Yeah.
Good enough for me.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's pretty unexciting though, and I think you have to try pretty hard to make this a good deck. So I feel like it deserves a 3 or a 4, probably a 4.
I'm gonna lean more on the 4.
This is there are so many commanders in this set that I'm like on the edge for. Like I don't feel like you quite get there, but you're good enough, right? That's kind of the thing for most of these.
Mm-hmm.
And it bothers me. Alright, next one. Because we have like 7 Boros commanders or something.
We've got Aya of Alexandria, 2 in Boros for a 4/3 legendary creature human assassin. She has Menace and Lifelink. Whenever a historic creature you control deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Menace.
It's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah. Specifically have to be dealing combat damage, so we're gated behind that. Obviously, she will trigger herself, which is nice. The tokens are tokens; they are not historic. So, a little bit awkward.
That
Not the
being
worst.
said, I don't think Boros Legendaries is that bad as like an archetype. So
No, and I do think that she does a better job of actually killing somebody than like. So our previous commander's going to do a whole lot of pinging, and until you get to like the actual loops, you're probably not killing people too well. Because even like Xiaojun, like just over the course of a longer game, because you're playing blue, is going to be able to just ping people out of the game pretty easily. Whereas Arbaz is very restricted on making sure that you keep drawing into action. Aya is producing the action, so long as you can keep casting her and keep building up your board state, you're okay. Snowball aggro sort of thing, but like, she doesn't snowball very good.
no.
She falls in the 3 to 4 category for me as well.
I think she's on the. I think it's on the 3 side for me.
Yeah, I think that's right. She could. I'll put maybe a 4.
Well, I think the big kicker is she doesn't have haste.
Yeah, that's
If
honestly
she
a
had
huge
haste,
kicker for her.
then it would be like, okay, this is for sure a 4, but
Yeah.
not having haste is like automatic 3 for me.
Yeah, that's it. Like as well. Again, robots, you can do stuff. Your Esper Sentinel makes a 1/1. That's nice. Like, we're not going to deny that there's some good stuff going on here. And she does go wide, not too bad. Man. Okay, maybe I'm flip-flopping here. Maybe she is a 4 just because of like the random like support creatures you can play at 1, 2, and 3, right? So when she comes down on 4, it's not unreasonable for her to make 2 tokens right away. Then she'll be able to attack and make us up. But that still doesn't like it doesn't sell it to me.
I just can't convince myself of it being above a 3. Because it's just like, by the time this gets going, even other 4s have already done their thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm just thinking, even like, yeah, she can do her thing on turn 4, so to speak, if you have other creatures supporting her. But I'm like, even compared to like, what you're getting out of a single swing with her is not that great. 4 life is not irrelevant, but not that relevant.
Yeah. So.
All right, next one.
Pretty justified in the meh. All right.
Yeah.
We have Bayek of Siwa. 3 and Boros for a 3/4 legendary creature, human assassin with double strike. As long as it's your turn, other historic creatures you control have double strike, and then he has disguise for 1 and Boros.
I mean, big double strike is pretty decent. 5 mana is not the spot where I want to be doing it.
Yep, it's like 1
especially
mana,
if it's
1 mana too expensive.
Yeah. And man. Yeah, it's the double whammy of 5 mana plus only being historic stuff, right? Like, if this was a commander who literally just said, hey, I am 5 mana and all creatures you control have double strike on your turn, I'd give some benefit of the doubt, right? But we don't get that.
But I've also, as I've stated earlier, historic's just gotten a lot better. Like, specifically, there's a lot more one of legendaries that you want to be playing in your deck anyways, so...
True. Absolutely. Like, you do want the random Delny in the deck. Again, random artifact creatures are not too bad here either. In the end, though, this is like 2 to 3 territory for me as opposed to 3 to 4. Probably gets to be a 3, though.
Probably still a 3 for me.
Like, it is just double strike. Like,
where the heck did I put Bayek?
That's pretty good. Although I'm going to say his power itself is a 2 on the scale, but, deck's a 3.
Yeah, he's being carried by the fact that we have a lot of good artifact and legendary creatures. Like,
yeah. And boy, is somebody at WotC just hell-bent on making sure that Boros has all of the legendaries. Because, dear God, there are 96 commanders we can play in Boros without getting into partners. For comparison, Azorius, this is one of the color pairings that they supported for a really long time, and like that was the thing they were keen on. has 87.
Yikes.
Dimir has 90. Like, the allied color pairs are falling behind Boros.
Alright.
It's... Oh, wait. Izzet has 70. There's a full 26 commanders more in Boros than there are in Izzet. Anyway, just thought that was interesting.
Yep. So anyways, Vikings.
Viking time. Hey, it's Eivor, battle ready. 3 a red and a white for a 5/5 legendary creature human assassin warrior. With vigilance. Haste. Whenever Eivor attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipment you control to each opponent. It's okay.
It's okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4, maybe.
Maybe a 5. I could see it either way.
I mean, the number of equipments thing is going to be like on a good day, right? We're getting up to like 5 equipment, right? So,
Sure.
commander that attacks deals 5 to each opponent. Not the worst. Get your Bloodforged battle axes ready.
Yeah.
She's the one dealing the damage, so like,
Give her Shadow Spear, and now you're gaining a metric crap ton of life.
yeah, there's some good things you can do here. I still feel like it only hits a 4 though.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I mean, yeah, it's like, huh, that's neat. Anyway.
Anyways, Ezio! Hey!
Hey, he's back! Ezio, Brash Novice, 1 and a hybrid red-white for a 1/1 legendary creature human. Whenever Ezio attacks, put a 1/1 counter on it. As long as Ezio has 2 or more counters on it as first strike, it is an assassin in addition to its other types. This is 1 or 2, my friend. Like,
it's only 2 mana, so it gets to be a 2.
sure.
That's my entire argument on it. It's only 2 mana.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not much to do with that. Like,
Yup.
what do you do? Just give him some equipment and tell him to go to town? Like,
Pretty much.
also worth noting, red sucks at giving 1/1 counters. It's still one of the weaknesses of red, so you're relying on white for any additional
Ash
counters to
Party
put on this.
Crasher 2.0, pretty much.
Yeah, basically. We gave Ash a 1.
Yeah, but 2.0. Therefore, the new and improved 2 instead of a 1.
Sure. Poor Ezio. Alright, next one's Cassandra.
Alright. Cassandra, Eagle Bearer. 1 in Boros for a 2/2 legendary creature, human assassin warrior. She has haste whenever Cassandra enters the battlefield. Search your graveyard, hand, and library for a card named the Spear of Leonidas. Put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle. Whenever a creature you control with a legendary equipment attached to it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And because it's so incredibly relevant, here's the Spear of Leonidas.
Spear of Leonidas is 2 and a red for a legendary artifact equipment. Whenever equipped creature attacks, choose 1. You can either give it double strike until end of turn. You can create a 3/2 legendary horse named Phobos.
Yep.
And you can discard 2, then draw 2. So rummaging. Solid equipment, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, not great, but it's solid.
I mean,
And something that you can build a deck around.
you can literally build a deck around entirely the fact that it's a 2 equip double strike.
Yeah. And that's relevant. I mean, it's another Boros equipment commander. And we have a specific one we get to work with. This really wants legendary equipment, which is a little difficult to do great.
It's a little awkward, though, if they keep giving us really strong legendary equipment, such as, see, the Reaver Cleaver, and, see, Shadow Spear. We'll eventually get enough for it to be really good.
Yeah, like, let's jump over to the EA trick page for this, because this is going to require some conversation. So, obviously we have the new stuff, like Excalibur and, Kaki. Caduceus.
The
I
Staff
don't know.
of Hermes.
Yeah, Staff of Hermes, whatever it's called. Which that one's actually particularly nice in this deck.
Yeah, both these are pretty good. So
Yeah. I mean, all of these, literally all three of these equipment are great to put onto your commander and do stuff with. You got to play all of your ways of getting free equip, which is getting easier. We got another equipment cost reducer. So, yeah, Bureau Headmaster. And there's a few really good legendary artifacts that already existed. So, you'd already mentioned Reaver Cleaver, Ember Cleave, Hammer of Nazan, Mithril Coat, Sword of the Animus, Shadow Spear. Black Blade Reforged is actually a pretty spicy one here as well. Oh yeah, Sword of the Realms is legendary. Huh, that's cool.
yeah.
That's the backside of Halvar. You got some stuff you can do.
Then you've
Definitely have
got,
some stuff you can do.
You've got all the generically good equipment support. So Codsworth, Kellen, anything else that reduces equip cost. Stoneforge Mystic's really solid. Arden's insane. We already knew that. It's just like, it's Boros equipment. It actually tutors you a really nice piece of equipment.
Yeah. It's a pretty nice piece of equipment overall. That said, still probably a 4.
Yeah, probably a 4.
Yeah. It's nice once you get set up, but she is like, a 2/2 at base, and the spear doesn't give her a stat bonus. So like,
yeah,
we're paying 5 mana if we don't have a free equip to get a 2/2 double striker that maybe draws you 2 cards.
yeah, it's. I will agree with Sammy. It is at least more interesting than a lot of other Boros equipment decks. So
I will absolutely give it that credit.
like,
Yeah, the requirement of legendary equipment is pretty steep.
mm-hmm.
It's not that bad, honestly, because a lot of the really good equipment are legendary anyway. But yeah, worth noting, we don't get to bonk people as easily.
Yeah, I mean, it's just solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still can, just not as easily. Oh, is that the last Boros commander?
That is, we're done with Boros.
Hell yeah, freedom!
All right,
All right,
Jason.
Grix. Yeah.
Is it Grixis or Esper first? I thought it was Esper.
Oh yeah, we do have an Esper commander. Forgot about that.
How could you forget? Sapphire and Olive almost got canceled because of this card.
True.
So
this is Connor.
This is Connor, everybody. We're not even taking the chance here. This is Connor.
I'm sorry, I don't know your coin names off the top of my head. Apologies. So this is Connor. He's Esper, 3/3 legendary creature, human assassin. As long as he hasn't dealt damage, he has hexproof and can't be blocked. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, create a 1/1 assassin creature token with menace. When you do, return an equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then attach it to that token. Okay, is there any like super big equipment that I'm not thinking of that we're like, yes, I definitely need to like entomb reanimate this?
Culture complete. That's the only one I can think of.
Connor not being green feels gross. Honestly, I can feel that.
Yeah, after playing the game, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, probably would have been a good choice for like Abzan. Or just green-white, even. Well, green-white assassins is a little weird.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the needs to have white and black, but I would have liked to have seen green instead of blue.
Yeah. All right. So, our big equipment include Colossus Hammer, Sword of Feast and Famine, Galdra Complete. That's about all I got.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Like, yeah. I don't see the busted thing. I see the okay things. Nazgul Battle Mace is an interesting one. That's a 5-mana equipment that gives the equipped creature Menace, Death Touch, Annihilator 1, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a permanent, you put it onto the battlefield under your control, unless that player pays 3 life, and equip cost of 3. So that's not a bad one to be able to reanimate.
Mm-hmm.
But no, this is kind of like... So this is a weird disconnect between what this commander wants to do and what the colors are already supporting. Like, obviously, Esper is a pretty well-known color combination for reanimator things, right?
Except
but it's reanimating creatures,
not equipment.
Right. So it doesn't have a whole lot of ways to put equipment in the graveyard easily, aside from like looting effects. But equipment are also generally low cost, high equip cost as their balancing choice, and that way you can get a whole bunch of equip things to equip for 0. This gets around the first equip, but it's just kind of like okay. When you get the equipment back, you don't attach it to Connor. You don't have the option to do that. You have to put it on the token.
But the nice caveat is, whenever you reanimate your Skull Clamp that somebody's blown up, you immediately draw 2 cards.
And that's cool, honestly. Also, we're in white. We can get double strike on our commander here and do some interesting things.
Mm-hmm.
Although the whole not having can't deal damage to get your can't be blocked, that's awkward as well. You get the option to set up. He's definitely the type of deck where you're going to be sitting there and waiting for your opportunity to strike, as opposed to just trying to snowball your advantage right away, right? But again, there's not one singular equipment that I'm like, yes, this is game ending if I get this into play. This is the big bad thing that I need to put into play. And there's not a whole bunch of equipment that I want to sacrifice either to keep looping. So
Mm-hmm. It's just not quite there.
It really isn't.
Dex is not quite there.
He's okay. It's like a 3, 4.
This is one with potential. If we get equipment that are just really good.
Yeah, I think right now what he's doing is weak compared to just giving knights +2/+2.
Yes. As weird as that sounds.
Yeah, it's neat. It's interesting. The support's not there. Alright. Now we get to do an interesting one, though.
Alright.
Real interesting.
Time for the best non-Malcolm Pirate Commander.
Good old Edward Kenway. Alright, so, Edward Kenway. 2, a blue, a black, and a red for a 5/5 legendary creature, human assassin pirate. At the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each tapped assassin, pirate, and or vehicle you control. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, look at the top card of that player's library, then exile it face down. You may play that card for as long as it remains exiled. Okay, those treasures don't come into play tapped.
And we're just good. Mm-hmm. This is flavor text here, chat. This is flavor text. This is what is extremely relevant.
Yeah, it's okay, so I mentioned before how, with that blue-black commander, how awkward it can be to get tapped assassins. It's not that awkward to get tapped pirates. They attack a lot better.
They attack really well. Unironically, vehicles are still good to play in pirate decks.
Yep. Vehicles have been really... WotC's been really carving this niche for vehicles to play well with specifically pirates, which, honestly, good on them. I think that is a very reasonable way to make vehicles feel better to play. I still hate them with a burning passion, but hey, at least it's something pretty interesting and a good niche for them. Moves them away from white and such. I think this is good. Genuinely, I think this is a good commander.
Like I said, unironically, this is the best non-Malcolm Pirate deck.
I don't know, man. Admiral Brass pretty good. She do just be reanimating things.
Sure. But, like, the sheer amount of treasure that you get.
Yeah, that's really true. Like, this has a much easier setup for big amounts of treasure. And, like, I've been thinking at level 1 here of, like, playing assassins, vehicles, and pirates, like, unironically. Just, like, this is what we're doing, right? And I'm still sitting there going, like, yeah, this is, like, at least a baseline 5. I need to be thinking about what can I do with Magda, right? When I get Magda involved.
Mm-hmm.
What can I be doing with, a lot of feels underpowered, which is weird for WotC. Yeah, honestly, I do think that this is very, very underpowered compared to a lot of the things we've been getting.
This feels like the intro set. This actually just feels like an introduction set, and that's, I think, exactly what it's supposed to be.
This is maybe podcast me coming out for a second, but like, it definitely feels to me like what they're doing here is the intentional design of universes beyond product that I do not think is that popular is going to be to make it weak so that you don't have to play against it, right? It's just not optimal for you to play the Walking Dead cards unless you really like the Walking Dead, right? It's not going to be optimal for you to play these commanders unless you really like them. Except for there's going to be a couple of cards that feel very... If it feels thematically appropriate for Magic, they'll scale up the power a little. And Edward Kenway is one of those cards.
Yep.
Like, you don't have to play him as an assassin commander. You just play him as a pirates commander. You can ignore that line about assassins because you're probably not playing any other assassins in your deck. Legitimately.
But you're definitely playing pirates and vehicles. Like,
you're playing pirates and vehicles. So he fits perfectly in as just a pirates commander within the established canon of what Magic does. So that's probably just what they're going for. The Templar Knights. Yeah, I like the Templar Knights thing. Although, Templar, the whole thing with Templars is still a little weird to me because of the whole Crusade stuff. But like, that's.
Do I need to pull up the spice?
No, we're good. We're good. So, but anyway, just getting through that for a second. Getting back to him, Edward's good. There's probably... I'm trying to think if there's a way to make infinite treasure in the instep by copying this ability. I don't think there's a way to do it. I think he's probably a 6.
I was gonna say.
Like, unironically, just solid commander, above average. Does some pretty a pretty impressive thing on the front half, and the back half is... I know we're saying that the vehicle stuff is flavor text, but I actually don't think it's flavor text. Like, I think there's a couple of vehicles you'll want to play in the deck just for card advantage.
Yeah.
Like, Jackdaw is a genuinely good card.
Jackdaw, there's a Looter Scooter. Unironically, probably a must-play in this deck.
Mm-hmm.
So...
You can play the Indomitable.
Yeah, you play the Mana Rock vehicle as well.
Yeah, that's fine. Belligerent's okay. The Indomitable's much better than that.
Mm-hmm.
You can play Subterranean Schooner. That's also fine. Yeah, there's not a ton of vehicles I would play in the deck. It's probably like 5 or 6. If I'm thinking about it. Yes, vehicles, there's the outlet for tapping your pirates so that they don't have to attack. And that is part of the reason why I think it's genuinely good to play as a vehicles deck. Like, it's actually just solid. You don't have a lot of flexibility in the build, though. Well, actually, there's probably a little bit, but I'm not going to think too hard on what I can do with Magda when people clearly aren't doing that quite yet. I'll let them figure it out.
It says pirates and vehicles, Jay, so we already knew exactly what this deck was going to be.
Yeah, and you honestly don't have to stray from that.
Nope.
Easy.
I like it.
Yeah, it's good.
Alright,
okay.
It's Naya time.
Oh yeah, we have a bunch of those Naya commanders.
Not a bunch.
There's 3, aren't there?
There's only 3.
So anyway, that thing about like red-white getting a whole lot, just a reminder, there are 49 Naya commanders and 33 Jund commanders. Carry on.
Alright. Eivor Wolf Kissed. 3 in Naya for a 7/6 legendary creature, human assassin warrior with trample and haste. Whenever Eivor Wolf Kiss deals combat damage to a player, you mill that many cards. You may put a saga and or a land card from among them onto the battlefield.
Okay, so there's things that I like about this commander and things I dislike about this commander. Let's start off with the fact that this is basically 2 mana cheaper Gishath, but in a slightly different way.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't get all of the cards; you only get 1 to 2. And if you hit a land with her, which you should have more lands than sagas in your deck, you should be able to keep paying her command tax and keep progressing your board state, so it's not going to be too hard to keep going with this commander. That said, oof.
Sagas are not good.
Yeah, sagas still aren't good.
But that being said, I've seen 7/6s just kill people over the course of time.
Right, that does just kill people in that kills a player in 3 hits.
Like I've seen Gishath with just mono Gishath kill people multiple times. So
yeah, you can play like this Naya Enchantress thing with the sagas. I'm not sure I like the fact that it mills. Usually I am all for when somebody says, hey, put the thing you want into your graveyard so you can do stuff with it later. This color combination isn't the best at doing that. Like, green's okay with returning stuff. White's okay with returning stuff, usually at lower mana values. Red is not helping you worth a damn.
No.
And
red is just there to give you haste.
yeah, and you're milling yourself on this, right?
Yep.
So you will, or at least in theory, you should kill your opponents before you have to worry about milling yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
In theory.
But hey, Jason, we get to play the living lore for once.
That we do.
And it's not a bad card.
That is true. I'm not sure if Satsuki's just better in the command zone, but
Yeah, I mean, we're just not quite there. Once again, the theme of this set with a lot of these commanders, we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, unfortunately, though, I don't know if this one ever will get there. Is the problem.
If eventually we just have so many push sagas, it will.
It's true. We don't get too many big mana sagas that you would want to hit and reanimate.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be among the cards that are milled, though, as well, which is the awkward thing. You can't, like, loot into the graveyard. Again, red feels very awkward in this deck.
Yep.
I don't know. It's fine.
It's okay.
The sagas aren't very good. It's still probably a 4, at least.
Mm-hmm. What about the green saga with read ahead? I mean, yeah, sure.
Sagas with read ahead are decent, but like they're kind of just like your sorcery speeding the effect.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine. I don't know. I just don't see a lot of strength. It's kind of just like my commander is probably good enough to carry me when my cards are bad. Just because I'm punching this hard at 6 mana. Which isn't even that hard of a punch.
Alright, Jason.
All right.
You ready for another interesting Naya commander?
Sure. Javi the Allfather. 3 in Naya for a 6/6 legendary creature. God Warrior. Javi has indestructible as long as there are 4 or more historic cards in your graveyard, and whenever him or another legendary creature you control dies, you may return target legendary creature with lesser mana value from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. This is another head-scratching commander for me. Like, there's definitely stuff you can do. Yes. Yeah, Safi Eriksdottir only, it says any creature. Okay, sure. So we just Safi Eriksdottir loop? Is that the goal?
Yep.
And with 80% of the decks doing that already, like... Sure, so we're just Naya aristocrats with a bunch of legendary creatures and we're doing Sophie stuff.
We're just playing Sophie.
Sure, I don't hate it. I mean, this is an archetype that I understand decently well, although it's a color combination that I don't understand great. Any deck that likes to actively put Torsten in it, though, is pretty cool with me.
Any deck that really abuses Samwise Gamgee also is good in my book, so...
Oh, sure. Okay, so... Okay, hold on. What do we get with Samwise? So, it returns the historic card to your hand. That's not the best, but that's not the worst.
It allows you to go up and down the chain quite a bit.
Yeah.
So... Sounds so boring that stacks feels dynamic, but no.
I mean, it definitely is doing some interesting stuff, but it's like interesting stuff where I'm immediately sitting there going like, oh, what if I do that? And I'm like, no, but that's not really easy to do in this color combination, or like I don't get to play with any of the black sack outlets, so I'm sitting there going like, how am I killing off my own things? Right? I gotta be doing goblin bombardments. I gotta be doing I can't really do Tooth and Claw, for example, because you need 2 creatures for that. Green has Greater Good, which is fine, but that also probably kills you pretty quickly.
Red has clone effects.
Hey, good evening, Muckle Monster. How you doing today? Yeah, red clones do matter. That is true.
Like, that's not irrelevant, because it's exact copies.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true. Red clones is probably really important for how this deck... a more optimal build of this deck. Yeah, you can legend roll your own stuff to get the sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. I see what it's cooking. I don't think it's terrible. I think it's still probably an average deck. So it probably hits the 5.
I think it's a 5.
I'm not even fully convinced it's a 5. It may be a 4, but like again, edge case, we have so much of that this set. You have one build, sir. You do exactly one thing. Alright, we're down to last 7 commander. Oh no, 6 because we have a partner pairing.
Yes.
Okay.
Last 6.
See if we get any other strong ones to fill out the top of this, because we have definitely filled out the bottom of this curve.
The GOAT Edward Kenway went in at a 6. I called it unironically the best non-Malcolm pirate commander.
Yeah.
So
honestly, he's actually just quite good. Like, solid overall. I appreciate him. And I hate vehicles, so that is high praise. Hey, boasting.
Oh, hey. Boasting Sagas instantly a 3?
We're probably getting there. So, Sigurd Jarl of Raventhrob, Naya of 3/3, Human Warrior, Vigilance Trample, Lifelink, Boast, so paying 1 generic mana. Put a lore counter on target target. You can lore counter on target saga you control or remove 1 from it, and boasting can only be done after it's attacked, and only once each turn. Whenever you put a lore counter on saga you control, put a 1/1 counter on up to 1 other target creature. I see what they're doing. I'm picking up what they're putting down. I don't like it. But at 3 mana, Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, it has to go into another creature, though.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a lot better if you could put it onto him.
Yeah. And,
Low mana cost combat sagas aren't terrible with them.
but also,
3/4.
like, I never, ever feel good about those low-cost combat sagas paying 1 to skip ahead. Just never feel good about that.
True. Although I do like one thing about it is that if you have those low-cost combat sagas, for example, like, you can activate the boast in combat still.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got some utility.
Is there any saga that we want to abuse, besides Fable the Mirror Breaker, where we'd want to abuse Chapter 1?
Using Chapter 1 specifically? That's an interesting question. I am going to have to consult the page for that. So let's take a look at it. It may be that we don't even want to consult... well, I mean, you have to put it on or off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. You really... If you're repeating, you're only really repeating 1. Because you can't repeat 3. Because you'll sacrifice it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, that's awkward. So it is really just Chapter 1 that we're repeating over and over, if we're repeating. Elspeth Conquers Death is not a bad one. 5 mana 1 to do this. It keeps exiling a thing with converted mana cost 3 or greater. Not everything you want to hit is 3 or greater, but most things are pretty good to hit at that cost. Showdown of the Skalds is a lot of card draw if you keep doing that one over and over.
Sure.
Like, that's a lot of card draw, actually. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You can exile a thing with the Battle of the Hellvault. That's a 6 mana enchantment. That's not very good. It's a lot of things. You get to exile 3 things, but like...
So, Monkel Monster, over half the things that go above 3 are just not good. So, it's kind of where it's like pretty awkward.
Yeah. War of the Last Alliance is interesting. Being able to tutor for a legendary creature.
Mm-hmm.
If you're tutoring for 2 legendary creatures every turn, that's not bad. And then you get to finish off with Double Strike in combat, plus the Ring Tempting You, which could be relevant.
Like, I'm picking up what it's putting down. I just don't think there's any sagas that are, like, absurd to make this guy better than, like, a 3 or 4. So...
Yeah, the Akron War, gaining control of a creature every turn is pretty good. It does feel a bit like I'm grasping at straws here. Like, not terribly. This is better than I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm.
It's still not great, though.
Bombadil's still the best saga commander? Yeah. Turns out, if you just make it to where things are free, it just kind of works.
Also, for what it's worth, we still have Tom Bombadil at a 4, and I think that's correct.
Yep. And this is worse than that. So
just putting that out there. Yeah, I think it joins the 3 category.
Well, I mean, it's also written all over the card. 3 mana,
3
3 different
sagas
keywords.
have 3 chapters.
I mean, it's all over the card, guys.
It's God, this commander is that's another awkward one. I tried.
Yep.
Alright. We got a Bant commander.
Sean and Rebecca Agents, 1 in Bant for a 4/4 legendary creature, human assassin scientist. They have vigilance whenever they enter the battlefield. Search your library, hand, and or graveyard for a card named the Animist, and then put it onto the battlefield and shuffle. They have tap, add a colorless mana. When you do, mill 2 cards.
Okay. So, and the Animus is a very relevant card for this. So, Animus is 2 generic mana for a legendary artifact at the beginning of your end step. Exile up to 1 target legendary creature from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Until end of turn, target legendary creature you control becomes a copy of target creature in exile with a memory counter on it. Activate only as a sorcery. So we get to clone.
Mm-hmm.
We have to mill to get there. It's not the worst.
It's until end of turn? Oh, until your next turn. Okay, so I can just memory counter on a Vorinclex in the graveyard and make everybody cry.
Yeah, or a Jinkataxis, or an Elish Norn. The things keep their memory counters on them, and because it is a memory counter as opposed to a counter on the Animus, or like noting with the Animus specifically, new copies of the Animus will be able to keep doing this. So it's fine.
It's okay.
Yeah, I think this works a little bit better compared to like. So if you remember Takasia, the 4-mana commander from Dominaria that requires you get to surveil every turn. This is kind of doing that a little bit better. It's all right.
The alt art is fire. Yeah, the alt art's pretty good.
Seems real video gamey to me. It does.
Yeah.
This does almost look like video game models. So.
Okay, and that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah. Oh, it's since it's until your next turn, you get like coma tokens as well.
Mm-hmm. No, it's got some stuff.
Yeah, it does. It actually does, and there's plenty of cheap legendary creatures for you to work with in Bant.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can play the Yoshimaru. It's okay.
Yeah, and also, I'm perfectly content with just accidentally milling over like an Elish Norn and making people cry.
Deck feels clunky to me still. Like, still not perfect. Not easy to predict. Not the easiest way to get a whole bunch of things into your graveyard if you're just milling 2 per turn off of your commander that's a mana dork, which is okay. Maybe a 5?
I think it's probably a 5.
I'm hesitant on it, but I can say it's a 5. I can work with that.
I think it's got just enough there. If specifically, it's just because the Animus is actually kind of good. So.
Yeah, the Animus is better than the commander.
And the Animus pretty much is your commander. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is one of those commanders I would really like to see in play to really understand what it's doing. This might be my next brew.
I'm a big fan of specifically Sean and Cassandra. We're actually playing the 98 card special in our
yes
in our 99.
Be helpful. Can't remember. Tolsimir. Yeah, well, we can't play Voya, though, because Voya's Naya. That's what you're wanting to talk about. Yeah, okay, next one.
Next. Altair.
Altair. I like this guy. Altair Im La'achad is Mardu for a 3/3 legendary creature human assassin with first strike. Whenever Altair attacks, exile up to 1 target assassin creature from your graveyard with a memory counter on it. Then for each creature you own in exile with a memory counter on it, create a tapped and attacking token of copy of it and exile those tokens at end of combat. WotC, let me just say, huge props to you for not making this just whenever you attack. You actually have to have Altair attack, and I appreciate that.
Yep.
Make him take the risk. He has first strike. Good on you.
And his reward is
Not the best, honestly, but not the worst.
I'm content with it, though.
Yeah, I think it's fine. This works with the Animus, which is nice to talk about as well. Although we want to be very heavy in the Assassins department for this thing. Again, Assassins, not the most aggressive creature type. So, not the easiest to get things into your graveyard.
But,
But
Jason,
not
you're
the
not
worst.
thinking about the spice of making everything in my graveyard an assassin.
That's true. You can play with, what was his name, Rashad?
Yep.
Or whatever?
And Conspiracy and Maskwood Nexus should work.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I guess I should say we are red-black, so we are good at just generally getting creatures into our graveyard. So at that point, without needing to care that it's specifically assassins, that's pretty good.
Also, like, all of our tutors, all of our creature tutors specifically will hit most of the assassins.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. I don't love that this is a commander that's basically asking you to never have an actual board state.
yeah,
That's a little awkward. That said, like, I dig it. Unironically, I think this is a pretty good commander. The only thing that sucks for it is there's only one really good, like, high mana assassin to put into play. It'd be really nice to keep, like, show and telling big assassins in. But we get Vein Ripper.
we get Vein Ripper. Unfortunately, we don't get the best assassin to put in that's big mana because he's Grixis.
Oh, yeah, Thuxamundar.
Yep.
Yeah, we wouldn't get his attack trigger, though. So it's like, again, not the worst. No, I'm cool with this. I think he's pretty solid. I don't know if he gets above 5.
I think he gets exactly a 5.
That's cool with me.
Alright. Unironically, the second best card in the set? Maybe the best?
Oh, Ezio?
Yeah, we all knew this was coming. Ezio Auditore de Friends. My Italian is not very good, so
I didn't say. Yeah.
yeah. 1 in a black for a 3/2 legendary creature, human assassin. Ezio has Menace. Assassin spells you cast have free running black. Whenever Ezio deals combat damage to a player, you may pay Wooburg. If that player has 10 or less life, when you do, that player loses the game. Okay. Flavor text. Once again.
Yeah.
Important thing. 2 mana, 3/2 with Menace is a pretty decent attacker. And every assassin spell is double black pip.
Yes. So this is kind of like your traditional snowballing aggro style deck. This is one of the commanders I've gotten to play against from the set. It is perhaps a hot take for me. I feel this is a very average commander at best. Like, making your deck 5 colors just so you can jam every assassin into it does not really make this deck good. 3/2 with Menace is very blockable. I know you'll be able to get the first creature out pretty easily, and that is going to help you be able to free run assassins over and over. Urborg is your best land. Like, there's a lot of stuff here. The lack of card draw, real problem. Like, when I played against Robbo with this, I got asked, hey, what thing do you want me to destroy between this Ezio and the Ezio that draws cards? And I said, kill the one that draws cards. Don't care about this one. And that was the correct decision. Like, the 5 mana draw cards one was way better than the 2 mana cost reduction one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like this deck just kind of flounders because of the issue of how assassins just don't synergize with each other. Thoughts?
I don't know, man. It's just the cost reduction's so huge, and there are specific commanders or specific assassins where it's like, okay, double black pip is just huge cost reduction. So it's
Yeah, like 2 mana Thraxamundar is really, really good.
also Masquerade Nexus, 2 mana, insert X creature.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that's more of the angle I'm looking at it, is like, so long as you have ways of, there are multiple ways now, especially in 5 colors, of making everything a certain creature type.
Yeah.
Being
I agree.
able to double black pip is really good.
I agree. That's pretty solid. I will generally say that I don't really like mini decks that say, "Hey, playing Conspiracy is a necessary part of my plan." The only deck that really gets to play Vasco Nexus and it be great is Magda.
Mm-hmm.
But that's because Magda is just kind of a busted card on its own, and it helps it bridge the gap into doing other things. I don't know. Ezio's fine. Like he's just fine to me. Feels like 4/5.
I'm definitely a little higher on this. I can go. I was thinking, like, after thinking about it, like a 6, but I can definitely go 5/6 and go 5.
I'm fine with putting him in a 5. I think I don't know. I just feel like the idea of, hey, go put a million creatures in, like a million 5-color assassins of just non-synergistic junk together is really a bait.
Oh
It's
yeah,
fun, but it's a
100%.
bait, right? That's
100% it's a bait.
right, and that's what makes it weak to me.
I'm just thinking about my own, like, personal way that isn't just the fun Assassin's Creed deck
Mhm.
of actually playing the Flake Brewing. But yeah, I
Yeah,
guess on average it would just be an average deck because everybody's just going to jam all the assassins in there.
right. All right. So, colorless or partners?
Colorless technically comes before the partners
True.
do.
All
Oh
right then.
boy.
The Capital Line Triad, 10 mana for a 7/7 legendary creature, God Artificer. This spell costs 1 less for each historic card in your graveyard. Exile any number of historic cards from your graveyard with a total mana value of 30 or greater. You get an emblem with creatures you control have base power and toughness 9/9. You mean 0 mana. Uh,
I mean, like,
no, actually.
maybe 4 or 5?
we in colorless.
Hence why I said 4 or 5. But it's real hard.
5 or 6
Yeah.
in terms of cost. Um,
And then this is just magical Christmas land here, so
so okay, so this is one of the commanders I've actually seen video footage on. I did see this commander get cast for like 3 or 4 mana, and then immediately go into making all of the creatures 9/9s. But that was enabled by KCI. And do we have other good free sack outlets for artifacts in colorless? I don't think we do.
and we don't. We don't.
Yeah. And because we're historic, this is not a deck where we get to just jam Eldrazi and it'd be cool. Yeah, we get to play Glaring Fleshraker, and this is a good enough Scrap Trawler deck.
Mm-hmm.
It's really awkward though.
This deck is just so awkward.
Mm-hmm. It's really clunky. I don't like what it's doing at all. Even when I was watching it, I was just kind of like, yeah, sure. I mean, it's doing its thing, but I don't feel it.
My thing is the payoff's just not there.
No, the emblem's interesting. The 9/9 stat line does become relevant. It's very good in a drawn out game, but it's still.
But my thing is that I have to get rid of so much to get there.
Yeah.
Unless I specifically have, like, Draco, Mycosynth Golem, and another Affinity for Artifacts card in my graveyard.
Mhm. Yeah. Honestly, this deck feels like a 2 to me.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a 1. I will give it that credit that it is not a 1. But the support's not really there. Kind of just floundering about. Yeah, a little sad. Alright. Partner time. Yeehaw partner.
Yeehaw, partner. It's Eevee Fry, 1 and a blue for a legendary creature, human assassin. Partner with Jacob Fry. 1 and tap, draw a card, then discard a card. Whenever you discard a creature card this way, target creature you control can't be blocked this turn. Eevee is a 2/1.
Alright, and Jacob Fry is 2 and a black for a 3/2 legendary creature, human assassin. Partners with Eevee. Whenever 1 or more assassins you control deal combat damage to a player, exile up to 1 target assassin card or card with free running from your graveyard. If you do, copy it. You may cast the copy. Eh.
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 I see what they're doing. I see what it's doing. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And always worth noting, curving a 2/3... curving a partner pair that goes 2 to 3 and offers card advantage in 2 different ways, that's something, right? You're getting resources on board. It's just, these are some very draft uncommon level commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, good build arounds and limited sort of things, not really where you want to be going. Eevee would probably, that would be a good limited card because you just get to do a looter plus you can make something unblockable, and that's relevant. Jacob gives you the option to cast the thing, or copy it. And the thing is, you have to cast the copy, right? You're still paying the mana, so... Yep. Interesting. Also, interesting alternate art. Hadn't seen that one yet. He's very... You do not see him.
He is British gangster from the
nice. Hey, KB. I got a lot to say on this, honestly.
Yeah, they're meh.
3?
3.
Yeah. 3 it is. And of course, this is pairing them as a partner. If you did either of them separately, they would be significantly lower ranks. And yeah, with that, this is one of our lowest ratings overall that we've ever done. Like, we have 2 1s in this.
Yep.
We got a ton of 2s, a ton of 3s. Okay, number of 4s. Like, that's not unusual for us to get that many 4s in there.
Very low amount of 5s.
Yeah, we'd usually have a few more 5s in there. We'd usually have more 6s, and definitely usually one more 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Assassin's Creed stuff's not looking hot, which is a part of my big criticism.
You're
saying I shouldn't get a buy.
No.
That's up to you, man. If you want to gamble, that's all on you.
Look, if you're like me and you're an Assassin's Creed fan, you were already going to buy the box anyways. Sure.
You're gonna, that's what you do. Yeah, go for it, friend. Yeah, well, Spade, this does kind of feel like a Universes Beyond core set. This was, again, criticism things, like, this was a set that was designed to go straight into Modern. This doesn't feel like a Modern set at all.
The only card that feels Modern playable is Basim, and that's it.
Yeah. Basim is really the one card of the set that I'm like, this is definitely Modern playable. I will also give that the reduce equipment cost guy, that one could potentially be a Modern card because it can be 2 halves of a combo piece, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Although when I say halves, it's really like it condenses 2 parts of a combo that you would want
it makes
into
my
a card.
Shuko a 0 mana card.
Exactly. They don't get Skull Clamp, so like we can't do that. But
I don't care about that, Jason. My Shuko for my Nadu, that's totally not getting banned 100%, right, Copium?
yeah, I will say, I mean, I was talking about Ezio Auditory Friends at the 5 mana one, or 5 color one. That one actually does potentially have some place in Modern. Not very much place in Modern, but you know, um, if you're show and telling Vein Rippers in Pioneer and doing okay with it, there's maybe something you can do with that in Modern.
Mm-hmm.
If it just costs 2 mana to do. That said, like, everyone's on board on turn 1.
Yep.
So, like, a 3/2 Myth Menace just doesn't get through very easily.
I will say, out of all the
That's
commanders
awesome.
on this list, Ezio probably has the highest potential to go up. Because
Yes.
is 5 colors and is a cost
Yeah.
reducer. So it's like,
Yeah.
the better assassins that get printed, the higher Ezio gets to go. But
Yeah,
for right
and
now,
like,
5.
and I would fully expect there to be some things for Ezio in the future. There's definitely going to be a few more assassins here and there. Like, obviously we just got our big burst of assassins, but whenever, if you want to get into the mind of WotC's staff here for a second, if you've ever looked at a set and realized that, because we've moved away from block construction, it used to be that, it was, you got new mechanic, then you iterated on the new mechanic, right? Now that they're doing new mechanics every time, they have to tie the mechanics into the previous sets. With this one being all about historic things and caring about assassins, I would expect to see some historic things printed in the next year. Like a push for other historic related items. We've gotten a lot of artifacts this year, so that's one of the things that's propping up these guys. We may see some sagas pretty soon as well.
I will say, also historically from WotC, stuff like this, assassins are very irrelevant. Give it like a couple standard sets.
Yeah.
Knowing how WotC works, a couple standard sets, and assassins will probably be relevant.
Yeah, we'll definitely get more of them. We're going to see, we saw our Vein Ripper, which was feeding into the Outlaws stuff for Outlaws of Thunder Junction. Assassins weren't exactly the biggest thing in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. This is a huge push on Assassins, so that gives them, it gives those decks some more direction, or those cards from OTJ some direction. We'll probably see a little bit more, but I wouldn't expect like a big set. I'm expecting like 5 or 6 assassins that come out over the next year that will be pretty relevant to these at least to these decks.
I will say that I think they'll be good, pushed, and probably relevant. So,
But yeah,
it happened with pirates. It's gonna happen with assassins.
Yeah, absolutely. Any commanders here you're thinking you're going to try to build around? I already knew that Xiaojun was one I was interested in, but anything else catch your attention?
I mean, I've already brewed Ezio. I'm building the goat because he is the goat, and I refuse for him not to be the goat.
Of course, of course.
I think Cleopatra's just the most neat commander to have ever neated.
Yeah, she's one I'm probably going to have to brew. The 3 commanders I'm the most interested in brewing out of this are Xiaojun, Cleopatra, and whatever our 2 Bant guys are. Whatever their names were, those agents or whatever.
Sean and Rebecca?
Yeah, those guys.
Yeah.
Because brewing around the Animus, there has to be something interesting, even if it's going to be kind of linear. I'm interested. I also might take a shot at our 3-mana Saga guy, because that's a hard build around. We'll have to see how that goes, though.
Incredibly difficult build around. I mean, yeah. Like, I'm not interested in Alexios. I know a lot of people that are, but this Slicer's just not for me, guys. So
yeah, that's fine. Let other people have their fun with them. Alright. And with that, I think we are done for the evening. Matt, are we going to be streaming next week or no? I can't remember.
As far as I know, we should be good to go.
Cool. So we'll probably do a brewing stream with either MH3 or
Well,
Yeah, it'll either be MH3 or Assassin's Creed stuff.
depending on how much spice there is this week, it may also could potentially be Bloomberg. But
That's true.
if it's that spicy and we have to capitalize on it,
If that would have to be super spicy for me to do it, because I'm pretty big on letting the set release before we talk about it.
Look, it's WotC, and we're in the post Modern Horizons era.
We do have a Naughty knocking down the door. That's true. Alright then, thank you all very much for watching us. If you want to hang out with us, go onto our Discord. If you want to talk, you can talk with us directly, see the decks that we're brewing, play with us at game nights on Saturday nights, and of course check out our regular videos every Saturday. I'm sure you already do. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can give us money there. It's great. We have some perks for you as well. We have social medias that you can always follow there. We have a store if you want to use that. You get a t-shirt. With that, I am done for the night. I am tired.
Same.
Thank you all again for coming out. See you next time.
See you guys.